the last topic I'm gonna get into is Kenny Smith and Jalen Rose. They both weighed in. Kenny Smith, first and foremost, he's always been vocal on TNT, doing their little halftime show and their post game show and stuff like that. And he said it a couple of times that he didn't have LeBron in his top 10. I don't think, right? And so he said that a couple of times. Jalen Rose, he said something similar. But this is my first time hearing them say what they're saying here. I want y'all to hear it real quick. I'm gonna give my commentary and then we go end the show.
Mm-hmm. So when you say just now, you say things that you believe they're authentic. So that means that what you said, I think it was last week, that LeBron might be in your top 10 all time. You authentically believe that?
Yeah, I think for me, my top 5 players of all time, and we're talking about threads of greatness. Like, let's separate this. We're talking about threads of greatness. But, you know, I'm old enough to actually have seen these guys when they were in their superpowers. So I've seen Michael Jordan in his superpowers. I've seen Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the superpower. I've seen him when he was Lou Alcindor. I've seen, you know, the greats be great. So when I'm comparing it, I'm like, well, it looks very similar to what he's doing. Or it even looked better at times. So I'm not going on a reference of highlights. So is he on a trajectory to jump into the top 5 of all time? For sure. But with 3 championships and he's still on that trajectory, he's not there yet, in my opinion, just in my opinion. I think, will he be there? Yeah, I think he will. But is he there now? I would have Bill Russell, Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, you know, ahead of him. I would, just personally me.
So how long after you said that take?
So, and this is something interesting, and they're doing something that I don't typically do when I make a list like this. They're going to the paper resume a little bit too heavy, right? And they're not evaluating the player. They're not picking apart the holes in this game and pointing out the strengths in this game. That's how I do it, because it's a collaboration for me. It's I got to know how high you are as a player, what level of a player are you at, and then I bring in your resume and I marry the two and see where you fall out for my list. And it seems like Kenny Smith just went straight to the resume and was like, he hasn't done enough yet. You know, and I don't quite understand it, but you know, because I guess what he's saying is once you're so good as a player, we can kind of see that you're in a category. Like we could see that Tim Duncan is an all-time great. We can see that Jordan is an all-time great. We can see that Kobe, Bird, Magic, we can see that they're all-time greats. So we just put them in this all-time great category, and then whichever one can achieve the most a rise up on the list. I guess that's how they're doing it. They're just, okay, man, that's a great player. Let's see what he do. And you know, but I don't see it that way. Like, I've already graded LeBron. He's not going to change as a player. The player that he is now, that's it. Like he's already, you know, because when you come in the league, you're on a rise to get to your prime or your peak. And your prime or your peak is a combination of your physical prime, you know, because you come in as a boy, especially if you come out of high school, you come in as a boy, and then your physical prime reaches its peak. But then as far as learning the game and honing your skills in, you might come in like Jason Kidd did without a jump shot. So you got to hone that in, you know, or you might come in like let's say Scoot Anderson right now, and you don't have the professional basketball game in your head yet. And it might take you a year or two for the game to slow down a little bit. So there's a lot of things that got to come together. But once they all come together at the same time, then you reach your peak. That's what we call the prime. And you ride your prime for as long as you can. And the first thing that you lose, because you're never going to lose your IQ, you're going to always continue to gain skill set. So the only thing that makes you exit your prime is your body when it fails due to injury or due to normal wear and tear or due to just being old for the time. So eventually you start to decline. Well, LeBron James, as far as his body, it's not gonna get no better. So at the very best, he's maintaining. But knowing how Father Time works, he's declining, but he's probably declining slower than everybody, because he's still able to do a lot of things at this age, 39, but he's declining. So he's not in his prime anymore. So we're not going to see any better LeBron James than we seen 2012. That's probably that's around that time. That's probably the best LeBron James we ever go see. We're not going to see that again. Right. So I already know what type of player you are. It's not going to get no better than what I've already seen. So what can change my mind right now? By you accomplishing something, that's not going to do anything, because what did it do for Gary Payton? I know what type of player Gary Payton is, just because he went when he was 1,000 years old and got a ring with Miami Heat. Is that ring gonna make me think of Gary Payton as a better point guard than I already thought he was that he was? So at this point, you just stat pad and you just adding stuff on, right? All of this stuff you're getting now is just foreskin, right? You don't need it, but if you got it, okay, cool, keep it clean. But it's not doing anything. Just because you got foreskin don't make yours any better than anybody else's, right? You just got foreskin. That's extra skin. You got extra skin. That's it, right? So that's how I'm looking at it. He's trying to add all this stuff to it. That's not going to change nobody's thought process about where you rank. And I don't agree with Kenny Smith on saying that if he accomplished more, then he can rise up the list. I don't do it that way. You have to make yourself a better player than someone to pass them on the list. And right now I got LeBron in the debates for number 4, number 5 area. He's in that debate, 4 or 5, right? And there's a lot of good players in that debate. But it's also a lot of players that don't have LeBron in their top 5 at all. Here's another player that don't.
So who are your starting 5 NBA players of all time?
So positionless,
yeah,
no doubt. So Magic and Isaiah.
This is your Fab 5.
Yes, exactly.
NBA.
So it's gotta be. Here's the team.
Are we getting him in trouble for a third time?
So Magic,
Okay.
Isaiah, Jordan, Bird.
Okay.
5th, El Capitan, Kareem.
Okay.
That's my all-time 5.
It's a unique list, I have to say.
And by the way, like, you can hate me and or hate my list, but when you really break down the history of the game, like, all of them is top 12 of all time.
Do you think it makes a difference when you pick your top 5 on what era you kind of watch? Because it's hard for me to I know Kareem is the greatest, but I haven't studied basketball back in that day. So I know for me, it's like I saw a little bit of Michael. I saw a lot of LeBron from 14 and up. Yep. Iverson was my favorite player growing up.
No doubt. Bubba Chuck.
So that was kind of the era. And then you hear some people ride or die, Jordan's greatest of all time. There's no discussion, this and that. But then there are people younger than me. It's hard to even imagine that. And you can watch tape, but if you didn't live through, am I wrong? If you didn't live through that era, it's hard.
Well, it's hard to compare eras, but there are a few things that allow you to do so. And when you talk about the best players of all time, you ultimately start talking about who's the GOAT. And when you talk about GOAT, the first word is greatest. That means achieved more than somebody else.
Okay.
And if we're comparing Michael Jordan and LeBron, for example, Michael Jordan got 10 scoring titles. LeBron has 1. Michael Jordan has been all NBA. Michael Jordan has been Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA. LeBron hasn't. Michael Jordan has 2 separate three-peats. LeBron doesn't have a three-peat.
Insane.
LeBron doesn't have 1 three-peat.
Yeah.
And so, like, you don't necessarily even need to watch them play to acknowledge that what Michael Jordan achieved just solely on the court
You always gotta watch him play.
greater. It's more than.
So why isn't Bill Russell in your top 5 then?
He is.
Wait.
He is. I just gave Kareem that starting spot at the 5.
Okay, so he's
I have
just starting.
never-
He's
no-
on your team, but he's not starting.
Let me tell y'all something about basketball 101. If y'all ever do a list and y'all get past 3 and I don't hear Bill Russell's name, delete. Block. You know what? I'm going to just block you. That's what I'm going to do. If I see any
Note to
social
self,
post,
include
yeah,
Bill
I'm going to
Russell.
block you because 11 championships in 13
crazy.
years is greater than me trying to act like LeBron is ahead of him.
Yeah.
Like, and what ends up happening is, and by y'all, just so y'all know, I love LeBron James. That's my guy. Maverick Carter's my brother. We played fantasy together for years. Rich Paul, that's my guy. I loved him. Randy, I loved him. So what ends up happening is people think if I don't say he's the greatest, that I don't like him or I'm hating.
You haven't hated on him once here.
Correct.
So, no.
But that's what allowed me to start kind of realizing I'm good at my job. Because that's my man.
Yeah.
But I can't act like what he's achieved so far is greater than Jordan, than Kareem, than Russell, for sure. Now, you can argue with me about Magic, but here's some Magic math. Magic played 13 years. He went to the finals 9 times.
Yeah. That's,
And he won 5 championships,
That's absurd.
including as a
Yeah.
rookie.
yeah.
Yeah, that's big. That's big, but I disagree with the achievements being the front runner and a conclusion you make on your list. But I will say this: if that's your criteria and you follow it and it's fair and you apply that across the board and you're not just applying it to certain guys to disqualify them, I don't have no problem with how you do it. If you're gonna have a criteria that you're gonna apply to LeBron James, you need to apply that same criteria to Kobe, or vice versa. You can't be saying, like I think who was that was talking? I think Stephen A. Smith was saying that he pretty much kind of ranks Kobe low because he played with Shaq and got 3 rings with Shaq, so he kind of say his rings are watered down, but he didn't apply that same across the board to everybody who played with other great players that's in the top 50 or top 75. So that I think that's lame for you to have a criteria that only that criteria is just for one player. Like, that's dumb. So if that's how they do it, if they go by achievements, great. If you're not going to evaluate the player, great. But I evaluate the player, right? Everybody call him an all-around player. I call him a 360 player. And the reason why I got Michael Jordan and Olajuwon there is because I think they were the greatest complete players for post players and for wing players. Not point guards, but post players and wing players. I have a criteria that and I use Michael Jordan and Olajuwon as the standard, right? And when people say all around, it's a misconception of what all around is. They think all around means, did you stuff the stat sheet with points, rebounds, and assists? That's not all around. All around is, are you complete on offense and are you complete on defense? And then do you have the other intangibles, like did you have are you fit? Right? We got a lot of players that are good, but they coming out of shape. I know Carmelo Anthony was a great player, but with his diet, he was out of shape for a lot of his years in New York. Not so much after New York. He got it under control after New York, but and I think when he was really young in Denver, you couldn't really notice it. But Melo's always been on the heavy side, right? So fitness is a big part of it. And then your consistency. Can you keep doing it over a long period of time? Can you do it without being injured? Can you play your game? So that's my 360 circle, right? And then when I grade wings, just wings, I'm not gonna do centers this year, but right now, because we're talking about LeBron, Kobe, and Mike. But when we talk about offense, this is what I expect from a complete player. In my opinion, I want you to be a dominant scorer. That's first and foremost, right? That's going to allow me to be able to run my offense through you. That's going to allow me to be able to play after the double comes to try to stop you. That's going to occupy the team's best defender, right? So I'm pulling your best defender. I'm pulling your help defense. I'm pulling double teams, and that's creating offense for my squad because you're such a dominant scorer, right? But I need you to be a dominant scorer with and without the ball, right? So you have some people who are dominant scorers. They can get you 30. They can get you 40. They can even get you 50 if they get hot. But they have to have the ball to do it. And for example, guys like James Harden, guys like Russell Westbrook, Luka Doncic right now, and LeBron James, probably half of his career was one of those guys who couldn't do anything off the ball, right? When you have to have the ball and you're the guy I'm depending on to score, that kind of causes a problem for me. So I need you to be able to do it with and without the ball. The reason why I want you to do it with the ball too is because when it's fourth quarter time and I need a bucket, running the plays is the margin of error is smaller during crunch time. And if I'm running plays and I got to set screens and throw passes, and we know that the referee swallow their whistles in those crunch time moments, and you go get away with more fouls and all that stuff, I can't afford to be trying to run my guy around screens because I know he will get knocked around, and they go allow more, and then the passing lane is gonna be really tight. So we do less. It'd be better if I can just get it to my best player, tell everybody to get out of the way, and then he can go get a bucket that he don't have to get to the rim to go get, right? So that's why it's important to be able to do it with and without the ball, and versatile score. I mean, not just getting to the rim. Can you do it in the post? Can you do it without the ball? Can you do it shooting it? Can you do it driving it? Can you do it on fast break? Can you do it at the free throw line? Be a great shooter. I want you to be a great shooter. If you're going to be my number one scorer and if you're a complete player, you can't be a below average shooter. I don't even want you to be an average shooter. I want you to be good to great, right? It don't have to be from three. It can be from mid. It can be inside the 3-point line, but you have to be able to knock down that jump shot because most of the time that's all you're going to get. You got to be able to knock down your free throws. And for a wing player, I need you to be a great free throw shooter. Not good, not average. Definitely not below average. I need you to be a great free throw shooter because the ball is going to be in your hand in crunch time. And I don't want them to be like, yeah, we put him on the line. He only 50% or he only 65%. We can put him on the line. Nah, I want you to be able to have that ball, be confident, want them to come foul you. And as a passer, you don't have to be a super passer. You're not my point guard. You need to be a reliable passer. I would say an average passer, maybe above average, right? But I don't need you to be Magic Johnson because you're not my point guard, right? So that's my criteria for offense and for a complete player. And in defense, I want you to be great on the ball and off the ball. On ball defense, I want you to be ferocious. I want you to be like Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen or Kobe Bryant or Pat Beverly. Jay Kidd was even a good on-ball defender. But I want you to be able to do it off the ball as well, right? I want you to be able to deny Steph Curry running off of screens or Clay running off of screens. I want you to be able to deny that. I want you to be able to chase him. I want you to be able to get in the pass lanes and get steals, all of that good stuff. Force turnovers, block shots, steals, all that, shot clock violations. Whatever you do, I want you to be able to force turnovers. I want you to be able to be somebody who can guard the best player. Right now, if Dallas Mavericks is playing that like they just beat Minnesota tonight, right? Which was good, but with that matchup, Anthony Edwards as a wing is a great offensive player. If he really got hot, I can't go to Kyrie Irving or Luka Doncic to go say, hey, man, can you go calm him down? Neither one of them can go guard Edwards. They probably had Grant Williams guarding Edwards most of the game or maybe Tim Hardaway Jr., but they can't even rely on their best player to say, hey, man, go stop that dude. You could do that with Jordan and Pippen, right? You could do that with Garnett when he was guarding bigs. You know, whoever your best player, Elijah, you can do that with Elijah. Whoever your best player is, can they go lock down their position or two positions? Can you know with Mike, he might be able to do with small forward and shooting guards. Maybe some of the point guards, not the real quick ones, especially not in his old age. But you know, I want you to be able to guard the best player on the other team, and I want you to be an above average post player if you're a wing player. You know, because a lot of wings post up as well, and I want your effort to be there, right? So that's how I look at it. That's how I grade players. I'm looking at all those things. You know, I look at that, and there's a lot of people that are lacking in that area. And even with LeBron James, no, he stopped playing defense. That whole defensive slide, LeBron is not even really doing it no more. And he definitely can't do things off the ball with his offense. He definitely can't be relied on with the free throw shooting. And his shooting is not good anywhere inside the mid range. His 3-pointer has gotten better, but you know that's hit or miss. You know, so when I'm grading players like that, I'm looking for completeness. Michael Jordan was complete. He checked all those boxes. He's a complete player. So you can't bring me a player that's not complete and tell me to compare him with that just because he was able to achieve some things on his resume that make it look like he's similar to a great player like Michael Jordan. But that's all I wanted to say, man. I appreciate y'all hanging with me to the bitter end, the great end. And as always, I just want to let y'all know to subscribe, hit that like button, hit the share button, leave a comment. If you're watching us on Facebook, do the same thing over YouTube and do that. And we're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you go and use the promo code ManDownSports. Your first deposit is going to get matched up to $100. So y'all can do that and start earning some money. I'll catch y'all on the next episode. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play fantasy sports. I want to tell you about the easiest way to get in on some NBA action with Underdog Fantasy and their pick'em game. Just find your favorite player or any player for that matter, pick higher or lower on that player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in one night. Pick between 2 or 5 players to fill your pick'em entry. Get every pick right, and you can net yourself some serious cash. Use the promo code ManDownSports, and you can get your deposit doubled up to $100. You got to check on the map to make sure your state is eligible to play Underdog Fantasy. But as soon as you do, and if your state is, go ahead and download Underdog Fantasy's app. Use the promo code ManDownSports, and you can, like I said, you can get that $100 match on your first deposit. And I would want to thank Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring me.